You have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Shall we have a look at this information about campsites, and then perhaps we can choose where to go on holiday?
Yes, my children are very excited about our two families going away together again this year. Shall we look at Westerly campsite first?
Yes, it says it's most suitable for children under 12 years old. So that should be fine for us. Your daughter's just 11, isn't she?
Yes, that's right.
Now, where is the Westerly campsite? Is it the one next to a lake?
That's another one. This one's by the sea. Perfect.
Yes, that's a good place to go in the summer when the weather's hot.
This brochure says that most children who go to Westerly campsite love the animals they can see there. There's a special area where they can go and feed them.
We might see some interesting birds too. Oh, and look, it says a farmer comes every day and you can buy eggs from him.
Great for breakfast. I wonder if he sells other things like cheese, but it's not mentioned.
I don't know. I think they grow a lot of fruit in that area, so he might sell that.
Another thing I like about this campsite is that they let you make a fire. We could cook some sausages and sing songs around it in the evenings. And perhaps it would be a good way to meet other families there too.
Great. And it isn't too expensive. £6 per adult per night. £3 per child. But wait, families of 4 can get it for £15.75 a night. That works out even cheaper.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Let's look at a couple of other campsites before we decide.
Yes, let's look at Snetton Forest campsite. It's even cheaper. £5 per adult, and children under 10 are free. They say it's a very good place if you're keen on fishing. And they even give you tips on where to go to have the best chance of catching some.
I prefer walking or hiking, and so do the rest of my family, so I'm not sure that will attract us that much. Oh, look! It says you can rent a bike to go around the forest. I'd do that. And your children would like that too, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. We could all go somewhere and have a picnic. Look, this is interesting too. At Snetton, they get all the children together to play football. Your children would love that. And your husband, Mike, plays too, doesn't he?
Yes, that sounds good. Well, Mike's more into tennis, actually, but I'm sure he'd be happy to be a referee if they needed one. Here's some information about Trent Valley campsite. I've heard about this one. There's a festival near the campsite in June and it's really busy, so they say for families it's better in July when it's a bit quieter.
Well, that would be just right for us because we have to go in the school summer holidays. Let's look at what it says about it. Oh, look, it's quite a long way to the nearest village. 8 kilometres. It's too far to walk.
But this one has got an open-air pool, which we'd all love in the summer. And they have a little shop where you can buy basic things like bread and milk.
That's really useful. And there's lots to do there. I think on Saturday nights...
That is the end of part 1.
You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to
Part 1.
Part 2. You will hear a supervisor at Holly's supermarket talking to a group of new employees. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Welcome to Holly's supermarket. I'm sure you'll all enjoy working in our dedicated team here. So, what will you be doing? Well, we're open Monday through Sunday, so you'll need to be able to work weekends as well as irregular weekday shifts. These sometimes start at 5 a.m. or finish at 11 p.m. Your duties will include checking and unpacking lorry deliveries, as well as working on the shop floor, stocking shelves and so on. But you'll only be required to do manual lifting if the goods are light. When the store is very busy, you'll also have to assess changing priorities. For example, if there's a queue at the tills, you'll jump on a spare one to help. If you notice something's been spilt and the surface is a little bit wet, you'll get a mop to clean it up. No need to check with the manager first. Similarly, if bakery items are selling quickly, you'll help cook some more. And if a customer can't find, say, the apples, you'll instantly leave what you're doing and show them. But you'll still get time off to relax too, of course. We pride ourselves on a positive attitude here. A little small talk shows you're interested in the customers and are providing excellent service, just as long as you don't overdo it and keep another customer waiting. And always smile. It forces you to stay positive, and being generally upbeat makes your whole team happy too. This increases efficiency and gives a good impression to customers. If it's quiet, help someone pack their bags. Customers really appreciate it, especially when they've bought more than they expected to. Staying calm's also a necessity. If a customer's unhappy for any reason, keep cool and call for a supervisor to help diffuse a situation if things are getting out of hand. Occasionally, when working tills, you'll find yourself waiting for someone to extract their wallet from the bottom of a cluttered bag, while a long queue of annoyed customers builds up. You have to make sure, however hard it might be, that you remain composed.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
So, now let's look at the plan of the supermarket. Have you all got your plans? Okay, good. We'll start with the staff entrance. Today you came in through the customer entrance, clearly marked on the bottom of your plan, but in future, you'll enter through the door in the top left-hand corner of the diagram. Please don't confuse this with the emergency exits in the top right-hand corner and bottom left. It's very important that these are kept clear at all times. Regarding the manager's office, some of you may have attended interviews here when it was next to the newspaper and magazine sales area. However, it's recently been moved and is now the circular space marked on the right of your plans. When the manager's not on the shop floor, that's where you'll find her. The storage and unpacking area. You may be asked to help out here, both before and after opening hours. This is represented by the largest of the 4 rectangles in the top section of the plan. It tends to get very busy there at times, so please be careful on entering and leaving this area. There's a kitchen on site where food and drinks are prepared for customers. It has specialist staff, but some of you may have to fill in occasionally. On the plan, it's shown by the triangular shape to the left of the tinned goods aisle. It's very busy, as many customers like to take a break in the cafe and read a newspaper before or after doing their shopping. Cleaning equipment is stored in a cupboard. It's the smaller of the 2 squares marked near the vegetable and fruit section, and can come in very handy. You'd be surprised how often we have to mop up squashed tomatoes or grapes. Finally, you'll be pleased to know there's a separate staff relaxation area. This is at the top of your plan, between the frozen goods section and the exit. As well as comfortable chairs, there's also a microwave for heating up snacks and a drinks dispenser. So, let's go there now.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3. You will hear 2 early childhood education students discussing a presentation they will give on reading picture books with children. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, are you ready to discuss our presentation?
Yeah, sure.
So, what are we going to say about teachers reading picture books with young children?
I think we should start with the reasons why teachers use picture books.
The journal article we read mentioned several picture books and why they're popular with teachers.
Right, like I Spy Friends. It's a lovely story.
Yeah, the children like to find the familiar faces from the fairy tales they know so well.
And they're all doing predictable things. The article said children find this familiarity very comforting.
Yes. Now, how about Goodnight Little Rabbit, which has those delightful pictures? I love the way the colours get darker as the book progresses, indicating how evening turns into night.
Me too. The article said that's why teachers like it.
Very cute. And a good example of visual subtext. Hard to believe that it came out over 60 years ago. It's still relevant.
I really liked what the article said about the boat party. There's a lot of repetition, which I think would be great for vocabulary development.
That's true. But apparently it's the images that make it popular with children. The artist is really well known, and children often ask for her books.
Oh, that's good to know.
And shall we also include Puppy and Friends?
Yes, it sounds like an innocent title, but the article warns that there's a bit of a fright. You know, the one on the last page when the puppy suddenly encounters the scary cat. Teachers like to use this to help children explore their emotions.
Sounds good. Hats and Socks is a good one. It doesn't really have a beginning and an end, does it? Which is unusual.
That's why teachers like this one though. Because it's so different, it's good for children to hear a story that doesn't follow the usual pattern.
And the pages are so full of life and colour. A good choice. Okay, and for our last one, how about A Family Adventure? This one uses a lot of the same language throughout, which I think can help with letter and word recognition. Teachers say it has a really poetic feel to it. They often sing it to a simple tune.
Yes, and it's full of beautiful watercolours too.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
In the next part of our presentation, shall we look at some of the other research? I really liked Smith's article about the history of picture books. Picture books haven't been around for that long, of course, and as we know from our reading lists, there's a lot of research on them already. Smith makes some interesting points.
Yes, one thing that shocked me was that some people don't consider picture books as proper writing, because they don't have enough words in them.
Yes, that was unexpected for me as well. I think they should be just as respected as other works of fiction. Smith also mentioned that books from other countries are very popular here, even though they don't show our daily life. I think that's interesting.
But it's the same for adult fiction too. People want variety. What I didn't realise is how fixed the number of pages is.
Me neither. I wasn't expecting that they're so strictly limited to 32 pages. It's important, so let's include it.
Alright, now let's think about other aspects of picture books we want to include in our presentation. How about the characters?
Okay, well, a lot of them feature animals, or families often in very traditional roles. But do you think we need to talk about that? For me, the main thing is that they are mostly printed as board books. The cardboard material makes it easy for young children to turn their pages.
I agree, and it's essential for children to hold books and learn how they open at the front and that the text goes in a certain direction.
Good point. Why don't we also discuss how culture is important in picture books, like the importance of respecting the elderly?
Yes, it's probably different all over the world. Would it be interesting to make a comparison between modern and historical picture books and consider future directions for the genre?
It sounds interesting, but I don't have any research on that, so we'd better leave it.
So what's next? We don't need...
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
4, you will hear part of a psychology lecture on the Rorschach test. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we continue our overview of the different psychological tests that have been used over the years in order to profile people and explain out-of-the-ordinary behavior. The test we'll look at today is the Rorschach test. The Rorschach test is a projective psychological test developed in 1921 to measure thought disorder. It was first developed from the observation that schizophrenia patients often interpret ambiguous images in very unusual ways. In the test, a participant is shown a series of 10 ink blot cards and is directed to respond to each by saying what the ink blots look like. The Rorschach test is practically the only test that evaluates in this way. The Rorschach ink blots are supposed to remain secret so as not to pollute the test population. The theory behind the test, created by Hermann Rorschach, is that a test taker's spontaneous or unrehearsed responses reveal deep secrets or significant information about his or her personality or innermost thoughts. These days, nearly all psychologists avoid using the method applied to the Rorschach as it is regarded as unreliable at best and dangerously misleading at worst. A few psychologists, however, still believe in it as a valid diagnostic tool despite the availability of more modern and sophisticated personality tests. The psychologists who do still see value in the Rorschach test frequently argue amongst themselves as to the manner of its interpretation, the meaning of the results, and even its validity. Several different schools of thought have even sprung up for the interpretation of the results, muddying the waters even further. For those still using the Rorschach test, the Exner comprehensive system is one of the more popular scoring methodologies in use today. Based on the work of John E. Exner, responses are scored using a number of categories. There is a reference to the level of vagueness of the answer, or if there is a synthesis of multiple images in the blot. What makes the subject say what he or she does is also significant. For example, how the respondents explain how the ink blots resemble what they think it resembles is very significant. Amongst other criteria, the degree of mental organizing activity that is involved in producing the response and any illogical, incongruous, or incoherent aspects of responses are also used in evaluation. Using the scores for these categories, the examiner then performs a series of mathematical calculations producing a structural summary of the test data. The results of the structural summary are claimed to show personality characteristics that have been demonstrated to be related to different kinds of responses. Both the calculations of scores and the interpretation are often done electronically. The Rorschach test is supposed to be administered in a very particular and rigid format in order to minimize variance in the results. Like the cards themselves, the test procedure itself is also supposed to be kept secret from the general public. In the standard test protocol, test takers are given the cards one at a time in a specific order, and the psychologist is supposed to place them directly in the taker's hands facing up and in a particular orientation. The order is not supposed to vary. The genuine Rorschach cards are numbered on the back primarily for the psychologist's use. If takers notice the numbers or remark on them, a note is supposed to be made about this. The cards themselves are large, about 7 by 9 inches, and are made of stiffened cardboard or, in modern variations, a textured plastic that mimics the feel of cardboard. 5 of the cards have purely black and white images, 2 of the cards are black, white, and red, and the last 3 cards have various colors of ink used in the blots. The test giver will almost never give any guidance. They will instead tell the test takers that they're free to do whatever they like with the card. About 50% of people who take the test flip or rotate the cards. It's reported that some psychologists will penalize people in terms of the results if they don't turn the cards around or upside down. During the test, the psychologist or psychiatrist will record everything the taker says. In general, questioning or asking about the results are supposed to have significance to the test provider, as does asking nearly anything about the blots themselves. It used to be that the notes were taken in a special shorthand that was specifically developed for the Rorschach test, although these days many psychologists rely more on recordings and will only make cursory, handwritten notes during the test. Often the psychologist will attempt to shield his or her note-taking from the takers so as not to distract them or make them nervous, as this would create a skew in the test results.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.